people are wondering what this new law is going to be implying for everybody, for our community. And we do have a special guest speaker. So thank you so much, Gloria, for joining. I really appreciate your time because I know it's super valuable and you're a super busy woman. So gracias por making that little time to be here on your evening.
Of course. I'm so happy to be here. And this is such an important time because there's so many different immigration things that are happening between the asylum transit ban, the Florida law, which we're going to talk about, DACA, and also the humanitarian parole that's happening for other countries too.
Exactly. There's a lot going on right now with immigration. So I am really grateful for your time and also for your experience, guys. Let me just let you know that Gloria, ay como la miran, she has over 30 years of experience practicing as an immigration lawyer. So ay como la miran, denle un little clap emoji. That is amazing. And that's kind of my icebreaker that I wanted for you because I'm still going to do an icebreaker. I know we started late, but I always like to do an icebreaker for all the speakers. And for you, I wanted to know what is if there was one case in your immigration history that still you remember, what is that one case? What is that one experience that you remember? Was it your first one? Was it your first win? Was it your first loss? What is that one that always comes to your mind?
Well,
tell us.
I would say that my client who came from Guatemala, who was a victim of a very serious domestic violence situation. She's from Guatemala. She was walking home. She was 12. She was apprehended, literally taken. And she lived with this man who was much older, who was connected to, people that seriously couldn't be stopped. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to use the G word, but yeah, mm-hmm. Right. So she had 4 kids and she finally had it. And she came to the United States with her littlest one. And I took her case. And it took 3 years and we won asylum for her in the immigration court. And here's the thing. I got all of her kids here.
Oh, wow. So now they're all safe. That's amazing.
It was huge. It was so huge. Not only did I win for her, but I got her 3 kids here, which is if you do win asylum and you have young, children that are under 21 and unmarried, they then can come to the United States on a visa, which is granted to asylum beneficiaries. So even though they were not in the United States, they got the benefit of their mother winning asylum. And I just thinking that is such a good, wow. It really was I've had many cases, but those are the things that really make me very grateful that I have this opportunity to help people like this as being an immigration attorney.
Dude, that's awesome. Okay, so perdón la palabra, pero entonces you're a chingona, right? You were able to win this super difficult case. So yes. Thank you. That really does deserve an applause. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and start, guys. Let me just tell you what the Juicy Lives are about, okay? So every month I try to have a speaker. This month tenemos a Gloria. The purpose of me doing TikToks and being on this platform is I have 3 goals. One is to educate people with the little things that I know. The second one is to hopefully inspire other dreamers to lose fear, to feel proud of the people that they are. And then my third goal is to build community. And I am super proud of the community that we have built on TikTok because people are super open. They join the lives and they talk and they interact, and it's really beautiful to see the community that we're building. So thank you for joining today. Antes de que empecemos, vamos a dive into to the questions and SB-1718. I want to remind 1718.
I keep thinking about these 17 and 18-year-olds that their lives are changed forever with this bill, with this law.
But I want to remind everybody to go ahead and use this 3 seconds to share this live with someone that you know has questions, okay? So take 1 or 2, 3 seconds to just share it because it's about to get juicy, okay? Va a venir la juicy information. So compártanle a tu amigo, a tu familiar, someone that you know could benefit from information. We're going to go.
Yeah. Absolutely. And what I want to say as the first thing is, if you go to my TikTok and click on the link tree, there's a Know Your Rights card, and it's in Spanish and English. And you can take a picture of that. You can print it out. There's even a door hanger. And that is, if you're ever encountered by immigration or asked about your immigration status, you can simply remain silent. The card says, I wish to remain silent. I want to exercise my constitutional rights. I do not want to answer your questions without my attorney present. So that is part of the National Immigration Project. And all the nonprofits, if you go to their websites, you will see a Know Your Rights card, because many undocumented people they have to have a plan of how they're going to respond to somebody, an official, being the police or ICE, about what they're going to say. And oftentimes it's best not to say, give your name, but if they say where you're from, or are you undocumented, or where you are, or how'd you get here, that's just not, they may want to ask you that, but you have a right to not respond.
Okay, so that they can find on the link in your bio, right?
Yeah.
Like for easy access, it's on your link. And if you guys take to the end, I can show you exactly where it is. But if you just go to her account, immigration_queen, you'll go to the link in her bio, le haces click, and you should find that botoncito where it has that resource. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Yes. I mean, if anything, if nothing else, I would like everyone to have that. And then also talk to your family, sit down with your family, if you can, and have a big, frank discussion about this new law. And because we're going to dive into it, but like, if you're driving, if you're like, U.S. citizen, and you're driving one minor who's undocumented, that can be considered under this law to be a felony. So like, let's say you're a U.S. citizen married to someone's undocumented, and they have children, and those children are undocumented, theoretically, like, there's a probability that you would be subject to a criminal.
That's so wrong. So wrong.
Driver who's undocumented around.
Yes, and I think that's actually some of the questions that people have the most. Because this law sounds, it sounds like ludicrous. It sounds like something that is like completely wrong, but it's now a law. So unless it gets revoked, unless something happens from here until then, this is what's going to be happening, right? Like this is what they are going to try to.
Starting July 1.
First. Okay.
Yeah, it's starting July 1. Now, Texas and Arizona had enacted the similar laws, not exactly the same, but similar. And the federal government was able to defeat that state in court. However, how long litigation takes. Look at DACA, right?
Right.
So, I think people need to understand that, for a while there, until there's maybe an injunction against the enforcement of the law, that law is going to be in effect.
Wow.
Like 45 days, all of June. Yeah. So like in 6 weeks.
That is a really important point, actually. So I compiled questions from the group, because people have been asking away questions about this law, because people are confused, right? And a lot of the questions were about that, is there a lawsuit against it? Is there going to be something to revoke it? So you're saying that because law takes a long time to happen, and for people to be able to litigate against it, this is going to be staying for a while, or until it gets revoked, or until something happens.
Right. So for example, I know that the federal government is planning to file a lawsuit as soon as it takes effect. And what they'll do is seek from the judge an injunction. In other words, stopping the start of the bill, or stopping it within a few weeks. Usually hearings take a few weeks, right? So you can get a temporary restraining order or a preliminary injunction against a law, showing that you have substantial success on the merit, that you will have substantial success on the merits. So that is going to happen. But I think people are not willing to take the risk in Florida when they can move to another state. That's what I personally think is happening. Because people are like, you know what? I've seen enough. I know enough that I need to leave.
Right. And that's another question that keeps coming up here. Actually, let's start with those, right? I compiled a bunch. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you that I am, ¿cómo se dice? I'm a wishful thinker, so it's a lot of questions, but obviously we're not going to get through them. And a lot of them are going to get answered organically. Like I know that, but probably you just answered like 3 of them, so I'm going to skip on those. But if you could just like tell those people that are business owners that are living in Florida, people are wondering like what they should do, like when they're in mixed status families, like, you know, someone's DACA, the husband is undocumented, the kids are US citizens, and they're living in Florida with like a business that they have going on.
What do you mean they have a business?
Yeah, they're business owners. So they're worried that like, should we also leave? But like, or should we stay and see if the law gets, you know, removed? What is your like professional opinion on that?
Well, it's very hard to tell somebody that's built a huge business, who's put their life into it for decades, to say you should up and leave. But I would say that if the government audits your business, right, then that's when you need an immigration attorney. So if ICE or immigration for businesses generally submits an audit to the company saying, we need you to produce these records, and these records. So that's when you need to get an immigration attorney who specializes in auditing employment, you know, based immigration. I don't do that, but there are many good lawyers out there that do that. So that would be the first thing. If for some reason, like you have a business and immigration officials enter your business, again, you have a right to remain silent.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now that's very hard. I know, because I've had thousands of clients who have gotten into proceedings because like they got nervous and they didn't understand they had a right to remain silent, and they were like swept up in a big raid in their employment, and rather than ICE doing an audit, which they could do to the business owner, they just simply round up all the workers and start asking the workers their legal status. Well, again, remember, everyone has a right to remain silent.
Okay? Yeah.
How is ICE, in order to put you into deportation proceedings, or to, I guess, under this new Florida law, criminal law, how are they going to know you're undocumented unless you tell them directly? So, and then your admission can be used against you. So we don't want to do that. We want to have a plan, not because I'm saying so, it's because it's part of the US Constitution. It's your constitutional rights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not something I made up.
Okay. And then also another question that keeps popping up is for those people that are undocumented, that are not living in Florida, how do you foresee that this will affect the community? Like what should they be thinking about? Especially those that might have family to visit in Florida, or those people that don't particularly live in Florida. What are the recommendations?
So I think that what we're going to see is a major backlash, and people like US citizens not supporting Florida as a whole, as a state, not traveling there, not giving money to businesses, which is actually in turn going to hurt some undocumented people that have businesses. But we can collectively say, no, we do not support this bill. We do not support the state of Florida doing this to all the people of the United States, all of the undocumented people, not just to the people that reside in Florida, because this law is absolutely unconstitutional. I don't think it's going to stand, but it's real. And if we don't face it as a truth and a reality, then, and don't have a plan, then that's where we're going to fall short. Yeah. But us US citizens, we have to take a hard look at whether we want DeSantis to be our next president. Is this America? And I say it is not. It is not the land of immigrants if we're going to have a law that literally punishes immigrants, especially immigrants that have been here for decades, who have no criminal record, who've done everything, who've built businesses, and they simply can't get documented because they don't have a pathway.
There's no pathway.
Realize that.
Yeah.
Okay. I see so many times on my TikToks, well, if they should get legal, then get in line. Look it, I can't explain immigration laws to everyone. Well, let's just say there are very few pathways for many undocumented people in the United States. Very few.
Yeah. I love that you say that in solidarity, we shouldn't just worry about this law as if it affects only Florida and the people that are living there. No, it affects us as a country, honestly.
Nation.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a really good point.
I mean, DeSantis, has passed this bill, and this is his platform. Just like President Trump said, what he said about Mexicans, and that was him, and he showed us who he was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when someone shows, my dad used to say, when someone shows you who you are 3 times, then you got to listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I say with people like this, this is DeSantis' agenda. And if he wishes that to be his agenda, then us as voters need to, if we're not for it, we need to get and vote.
Like, how is
sure?
It's crazy that having our constitutional rights, and he just goes above that and creates this a complete violation.
Well, I mean, it's not the state's rights to enforce federal immigration law.
Right. Okay, and then so I have this other one that is, I think, really important for DACA recipients, particularly. It's a 2-part question. First of all, is traveling with advance parole safe in your opinion? And then the second part is, what about those DACA recipients who live in the state of Florida? Would they be at any risk if they travel with advance parole at the moment? What do you foresee?
Okay. First of all, you are not in a risk. Wait 1 second. I don't know why hold on a second. 1 second. I just want to make sure. Hey, Jim, do you have can you grab me the cord for my phone? Can you grab me my cord for my phone, babe? Thank you. Sorry. Okay. First of all, what's your first question? Is it safe to travel? Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely, yes. And if you came here without inspection and you wish to do advance parole, it's going to be the best decision you ever made in your life, because you're going to come back with advance parole. You're going to have this stamp. You're going to be last paroled into the United States. And this is what, sweetie, thanks so much.
Pongan atención a esta parte, because I always get this question. People that are worried, they're like, oh, is advance parole safe? I heard from an attorney that it was a risk, that it was 50-50, all these myths that people hear. So I really want you guys to listen to this part, por favor, because I probably get this comments at least 5 times in a day that people hear from others that it's not safe, that it's...
Okay, listen. I want to explain to this, and this may take a minute. Advance parole is safe to apply for if you have DACA, and it's safe to travel in and out and inside the United States. Now, even if you have a removal order, it's still safe, because under this case, our belly, your belly. I know that's the name of the case. If you want to believe it, you can look it up. It is actually not a departure. In other words, even if you have the removal order, you don't trigger the departure by leaving on advance parole. It's almost like a ghost legally, but you come back with the parole in your passport. Okay. Now there's 3 ways you would not be able to come back. 1, you let your DACA expire and you're a knucklehead and you're outside the United States. Okay. 2, you don't come back in time on the advance parole document. Or 3, your passport expires. You have to wait, get a new passport, and you're outside the U.S., and then you don't have the advance parole to come back in. Okay, that in that situation, in that horrible situation, and it's very, 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 very minor, you can then seek humanitarian parole back into the U.S. Okay,
now there's still some type of hope.
Yeah, yes, but to answer your question, is 100% safe.
100% safe. Ya lo escucharon, yo no lo estoy diciendo, lo está diciendo la immigration queen, okay? That legal entry.
Por favor, right? Please.
Yes.
Okay, now what's your second part? How if DACA recipients are safe in Florida? The answer is yes, because remember something. DACA is simply a deferred enforcement. In other words, you should be deported. That's what deferred action is. But we're going to defer the deportation. It's almost like I'm putting this up. It's a shield from deportation. So immigration and customs enforcement cannot deport you if you have DACA. Now, there are exceptions, like if you commit a serious crime and are convicted of it, they can put you into deportation proceedings, say that you're not eligible to renew DACA or that you violated the terms of your DACA, and they can put you into removal proceedings. But you are very safe if you have DACA in the state of Florida.
Okay, so you're very safe if you have that protection from deportation. And what about if they have DACA and they want to do advance parole and they're living in Florida? I think that was the question there.
Fine.
You're good. ¿Ya vieron? Mic drop.
You heard it. But you know what? I have been doing advance parole for DACA recipients since 2013. 10 years. I've done hundreds of them. And I remember my first client, he was like, Gloria, no one's talking about it. This is like 2013, like February. He was like one of my first DACA recipients. And now he is a U.S. citizen. He is in the U.S. Army. And he is like I was like, look at Alan, you have to do this. You will regret it if you don't do it. He's like, I've been Googling. I'm like, look at, don't Google. I know the law. Like, if you're,
you're talking to an immigration queen.
If you're going to have heart surgery, you go to a heart doctor. You don't figure it out yourself. Right. And so that's another thing. What a lot of people do, they think it's just forms or they're going to wing it no, that's not a strategy. That's not, you go to a heart surgeon if you're going to get heart surgery. You go to an immigration attorney if you're going to do an immigration process, because it's just the safe thing to do. Yes, there are nonprofits. I totally get that. The Catholic Church has a great nonprofit run by Catholic Legal Immigration Network. Amazing. And there's a lot of other places that you can get assistance. However, when you're leaving the country and coming back in, I think personally it's wise to either consult with an immigration attorney or have an immigration attorney.
Yeah, I definitely think, and I always say that too, like, it is always safe to consult and to get like your best opinion from a professional that studied the law. But the other thing is that if something goes wrong, that's another I guess process. That's another fee, right? Like, so you would need an attorney coming back if something was to go wrong too. Yeah, like that's when you would really need that.
Yes, that's true. Obviously, absolutely, that's when you would need an attorney. But I think it's never going to happen. I mean, that's what people read on the document when they get the advance parole is that this is not a guarantee of reentry into the U.S. And that is, let me explain something. CBP is part of the Department of Homeland Security. USCIS is part of the Department of Homeland Security. USCIS issues the advance parole. CBP has a final word of who enters the U.S. So of course, USCIS can't guarantee that you're going to come back because CBP has the final say. And that's why the USCIS, when they issue the advance parole, it says this is not a guarantee. And people freak out for good reason, right?
Right.
But I wanted to give people the reason behind it so they understand. It's within CBP's sole jurisdiction to determine who comes in and out of the United States. Okay? Not USCIS.
That's a really good explanation. That actually is perfect because it does put it into context that, yeah, it has to say that. It has to be like a disclaimer almost. So thank you for bringing that up. That is a really good explanation. Okay. So I have this other one that I think is a good one. And it's also by a DACA recipient. This one was submitted because they're worried that if they're driving in the state of Florida and they have DACA and their parent is on the same vehicle, would this put them at risk of committing like a felony?
Well, so remember that DACA shields you from immigration processes, okay? What Florida has passed is a criminal law. Yep. So when a cop comes up to me, I do not answer any of their questions unless they have, well, if they pull me over for a traffic violation, that's something different. I just say, why did you pull me over? And if he says, where are you going? I say, why'd you pull me over? It's not, I don't have to answer necessarily the police officer's questions. So in the event you have DACA and you have 3 people that are undocumented in your car and you're traveling into Florida and you get pulled over by a police officer, if the police officer asks you, what's the status of people in your car. Just know that you have a right to remain silent. Whatever you do or don't do is up to you, but you have a right. Right?
And then what happens if for some reason,
because
like,
I'm not going to admit I'm committing a crime.
yeah.
Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't go like, yeah, I committed a crime. Yeah.
And it's so sad, Gloria, because sometimes people do. They'll be like they'll see a border patrol and like they'll start running, or they get like super nervous and they say like, oh, I don't have documents. So it's sad, but people feel like they have to answer to them, but it is our right to stay silent.
Right. And that's why we have to have a strategy. And so I mean, I represented over 1,000 people in deportation proceedings. And I would say most of my clients, they admitted their non-immigrant, their status to the ICE officer, even though they didn't have to. Yeah. See? So you need a strategy.
Yeah. And so what happens if they do figure out that those people are undocumented? Would this DACA recipient get a criminal charge?
I mean,
even if it's family?
Under the state law, I mean, they could be charged. Because they have DACA doesn't mean that they can't be, they're shielded from, these are criminal statutes.
Yeah, because even like a citizen would be charged.
If I do it, I'm a U.S. citizen. If I do it, I'm subject to. That's why I'm not going to Florida.
It's no way. Yeah, and that's what we should all be boycotting. Like I know that there's people like, oh, I wanted to go to Disneyland. No, boycott it. There's others.
Oh no, you can go to Disneyland. That's in California. That's in my state.
There you go.
You're fine to go to Disneyland, not Disney World.
Yeah, okay.
We still love Mickey.
I was seeing that Disney World, or the CEO is like also filing a lawsuit or something against the governor.
Oh yeah, the governor's really coming for the whole Disney corporation, saying that they're woke and that, look, Disney's been very, very, very supportive of LGBTQ rights, of the Mexican community in the United States, and they're gonna go. It will go the distance. You don't mess with Mickey. I'm sorry, you just don't.
You're such a California girl.
I know, because I grew up like 45 minutes from Disneyland.
That's awesome.
Like, and so I love Disneyland. I love everything that Disney stands for.
Yeah. So this one is in Spanish.
Down easy. Okay.
They're not going down easy. So this one's in Spanish. Dice, si visito Florida y me detienen por no tener documentos, ¿tendré oportunidad de contactar a un abogado? Si tengo a un hijo ciudadano con cáncer, ¿podría salir yo con fianza?
Okay. So in my complete, not fluent understanding of Spanish, she's saying that she's in the state of Florida and she has a U.S. citizen child, correct?
With cancer. Mm-hmm.
With cancer. Okay. So what I want to say to people is that hardship outside of removal proceedings for unlawful presence, okay? So what people that have to leave and trigger the 10-year bar, outside of deportation proceedings, you cannot claim hardship to a U.S. citizen child. But ironically, if you get into deportation proceedings, you can claim hardship to those U.S. citizen children that are under 21 and unmarried. So many people are like, I'm just going to walk up to ICE and knock on the door and say, you know what, put me in proceedings.
Yeah.
But people don't really want to do that, right? Because it's a lengthy process. You have to show extraordinary hardship to your child. Now, I have had clients that have had children with cancer, and definitely we have prevailed inside of removal proceedings. But you don't want to, I don't think you want to risk being put into removal proceedings because it's going to be a long process. And quite frankly, they probably won't even start proceedings against you, even if you try, because you're not a priority for removal right now under this administration, right? So under Trump, everyone was a priority for removal. Biden is like, okay, we're going to go after the felons, the gang members, multiple deportation violations, multiple removals, that kind of stuff. But you, as the good, person that you are, just being undocumented here and having a child, I wouldn't take the risk of trying to get yourself in proceedings.
And then the other part of the question is like, and I think this one's very obvious for most of us. Do I still have the opportunity to contact an attorney? Yes, that's the first thing you should do if that was to happen.
Absolutely, yes. You should have in your house a name of a lawyer that you want your family to contact in the event that you are put into proceedings and you're still in jail waiting to have ICE give you, allow you to have a bond, you should definitely have a lawyer that you've already kind of thought through. And also, I would have a binder full of all your pertinent documents in your house. So birth certificates, marriage license, marriage certificate, medical records,
money,
IEP, money. And remember, if you get put into removal proceedings and the ICE gives you a bond or the judge does, it's not a percentage of it. If they say it's a $10,000 bond, it's $10,000 or the collateral that's equivalent of $10,000. That's not true of like a bond that you get in like criminal proceedings in state court. You have to post a percentage of it, like 10%. But in immigration, it's a total enchilada, right? And you don't get that money back until the proceedings are over, which could be 10 years.
Wow.
I'm sorry. It's harsh. I'm giving you the.
I was gonna say, I know that you have some notes on the law, like some facts. Do you want me to share the screen on that?
Yeah, just that portion at the bottom of our agenda. That would be great.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna just share my screen on my end.
Oh, thank you for everyone on TikTok. Thank you so much.
At the bottom. Okay, this is my.
Okay, there we go.
Right here.
I think it's at the bottom.
There we go. Right here.
Mm-hmm. So, one of the things that's really harsh I want to point out is if a hospital in Florida accepts Medicaid, those hospital administrators, which I think a lot of the hospitals do, right? The hospital administrator has to ask for the immigration status and has to report to Florida how much the cost of the medical treatment is and all of that. Just so you're aware, if your child is going to the hospital, the child is a U.S. citizen, you are on no obligation to answer the parent status, right? Because it's the child who's seeking medical care.
But what if the parent is undocumented, is the patient? He would have to disclose that, or they would.
According to this law. Now, I don't know if you just say I'm not going to answer it, what the hospital will do. I think that's a function of what your medical situation is when you get to the hospital. If it's an ER, they can't refuse treatment just because you don't answer that question. Yeah. Right? Because they're taking a Hippocratic oath to treat you. But that's a really bad, really chilling. It's hard enough in the United States to get medical care. It's expensive. A lot of people can't get it. But then to add on the fear that you have that in a situation where you have to go to the emergency room or something, and then you're worried about, you're not going to go because, of this law, that is ridiculous, and it's a chilling effect.
And it has taken, Gloria, years to inform the community that it was safe to go seek medical care, that it was safe to go to a cop and ask for help if you're undocumented. And this type of laws, they just set us back so much because people start fearing those who should be caring and protecting our communities.
Yes,
because we are part of it.
It's so true. So this one, knowingly transporting 5 or more undocumented people or a single undocumented minor, a second-degree felony subject to $10,000. That's the example if you're a U.S. citizen, you're married to someone who's undocumented and you're working on their status, but their child is undocumented. Conceivably, your undocumented stepchild could actually be the reason why you're risking getting convicted or charged with a felony in the state of Florida, which is, it hurts the family unit, right? That's why you see whole families up and leaving. It's not just one person. It's not like the dad saying, you know what, I have an agricultural job. I work in the fields in Florida. I'm going to travel and live in Utah because I can get a driver privilege card. I can get work in Utah. It's a huge agricultural city. And then I'm going to come back and forth. No, most people are saying, look, we're not going to be separated. We're going to get the whole family together and just make a different plan.
Wow.
That's so crazy. And then I want you to scroll down, which is if you scroll down a little, this is the longest paragraph. This unlawful for any person to knowingly employ, hire, recruit, refer either for himself or herself or himself or on behalf of another for private and public employment within the state, a foreign national who's not authorized to work. Essentially, what that specific section, I think, is what they're trying to target is, you know how a lot of people that don't have status will go to like a temp agency or like a subcontractor and then will be employed by them, and then they sub that out to the general contractor. Of course, the general contractor is only paying the temp agency, right? But in this situation, the temp agency, the business, would be subject to that law too. And you see how that has a chilling effect? Because it's not just the direct employer that would be subject to this. It would be the job placement, the subcontractors, all of that.
Wow. So it affects the economy and
I mean, obviously they had people that do not like immigrants. They passed this law, they drafted this law getting every single possible angle.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, no, this is another one. Undocumented people this is the one that is really affecting the truckers. Undocumented people are no longer permitted to use driver's license issued from another state and prohibit Florida state IDs to be issued to them. Okay. In many states, Washington State,
California,
Utah, California, back in the day and still even now, many people that are undocumented can get a commercial driver's license to drive a truck. And they've continued to renew that. I had clients that renewed it for like 10 and 20 years, right? They never let it lapse. And they are able to have a trucking company and transport all across the United States. What this law is saying, you are not permitted to use the driver's license from Washington State that's a commercial driver's license to truck products into Florida, as how I read it. That's why the truckers are like, we're not going into the state of Florida, because they may have a commercial driver's license from a different state. And now
I had not think about it in that way. You're so right. So
yeah, I have tons of clients that a lot of people that are undocumented have trucking businesses.
Yes.
But I have many clients that have wildly successful trucking business. Been here for 30 years. They've got like 3 semis. They ship for Costco. They're really thriving. Now, what this law is saying is that the state officials in Florida will not recognize, let's say, the out-of-state commercial trucking driver's license from the state of Washington.
So it's not just for regular drivers with their own vehicle,
well,
but
no, that's true too. Yeah,
it would include
it's
them
for regular
too.
Yeah, it's for regular drivers. I'm just giving the example of what I think the truckers are. I'm trying to put into context as applied, why the truckers are so incredibly like fearful of this. Right. Because they have maybe the commercial driver's license from the state of Washington from 20 years ago. Wow. So if they go into the state of Florida, then they get pulled over. It's like, hey, this license isn't good. We're not, you can't drive in the state of Florida with this license. Well, you know what? Then I can't drive there. So I'm not going to drive my truck into Miami or Tallahassee or whatever. Right.
And I know that also U.S. citizen truck drivers are kind of joining the cause and like in solidarity, because I've seen like videos about truck drivers that are American citizens that are like, no, this is unlawful, this is unconstitutional. So I think it's really beautiful how everybody is just seeing through this law and is mad, except I guess the far right conservative people.
Yeah, and I think the people that are in the middle, those voters that are middle of the road, that might be a Republican or might be a Democrat, I think it's important for them to understand how outrageous as applied this law is. And that's the purpose of me pointing these things out. When you can't travel with your own children, stepchildren and children or parent because they're undocumented, and it's like we're going to a very dark time in the United States.
Yeah. I had a question about this one that you have right here, actually.
provides $12 million to continue the DeSantis unauthorized alien transport program to relocate undocumented immigrants to sanctuary jurisdictions such as Massachusetts. Okay. DeSantis, I don't know if you recall, but about a year ago or half a year ago, he put some undocumented immigrants that were in they weren't in proceedings. He put them on a plane and shipped them to Massachusetts. They did not know where they were going. They were falsely told something related to, everything's going to be fine and there's going to be a work permit and all that. And they were actually not knowing where they were going. And so DeSantis is doing this as like a political stance to say, you know what, California, you know what, Washington, know what, Oregon, you know what, Massachusetts, you guys want these undocumented, here you go. It is crazy.
It is a political game for him. But these are people, these are families.
It's also those people that were transported to Massachusetts actually have a claim to possibly get their residency based on that. The facts are very particular to that case, but you cannot simply transport people without telling them where they're going and with the promise of something.
Wow.
Those are the main ones. I mean, yes, you have to e-verify. If you're over 25 employees or more, you have to, for new hires, you have to use the e-verify system, which is a federal system. You type in the person's name and social, and you either get a match or a no match letter. Okay. Now that system is not perfect. In fact, it has quite a lot of flaws. But that's going to be for new hires. So that's going to be for any public, for new hires. But so I keep saying new hires, but there's another provision there that talks about continuously employing somebody. Let's say someone you've had in your company for 20 years, farm workers, farm owners that have known these people that have worked for them for 10 and 20 years, and they know that they're undocumented. Those owners of those farms are now going to be subject to a federal offense.
Wow. Even it's targeting those. Wow.
It's crazy, right? So, and you do, when you work for someone for so long, you get to know people.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So those are the main ones. I also have a couple of frequently asked questions that are just kind of always lingering around, the topics that confuse people the most. So we can come back later.
You want to take those notes off?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Okay, perfect.
There we go.
All right.
It's better. There we go.
Yay.
So yes, so I was saying that we get those frequently asked questions from people that are confused when they hear, por ejemplo, things like permanent bar or el perdón. Could you explain to the common people in simple terms what the permanent bar is and who probably has a permanent bar?
Okay. This is a complex area of the Immigration and Naturalization Act, and I'm going to keep it simple. Okay.
We like simple.
No, because it's
so
the law came into effect April 1, 1997. Anything that happened prior to that, ins and outs of the U.S., they don't count towards the permanent bar. That's the first thing. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you're unlawfully present in the U.S. for more than 1 year after April 1, 1997, and you depart the United States, so you have to have a departure. Okay. You have to be unlawfully present, and then you have to have a departure. If you never leave the United States, you never have the permanent bar. Got it? Okay. In this, there's 2 permanent bars, but we'll go through the other one. And you attempt to enter the United States without permission or enter the United States without permission, you have the permanent bar. You don't have the permanent bar if you're unlawfully present for more than 1 year in the United States after April 1, 1997, and you depart and you re-enter on a tourist visa. You re-enter with permission. You re-enter with H-1B. You re-enter with an H-2B. You don't trigger the permanent bar because you haven't re-entered or attempted to re-enter without permission. Okay. The other permanent bar still applies for April 1, 1997, and that's if you've been ordered removed from the United States, you depart and you attempt to enter the United States or enter the United States without permission.
Oh, wow.
Right? So let's say after 1997, you get ordered removed from a judge or from immigration, and you leave, and then you attempt to enter the United States and you're apprehended, or you actually enter the United States and without inspection, right? You have the permanent bar. Okay. Now, many Mexican nationals have the permanent bar. Plain and simple, because a lot of people return, back in the late 90s, the border was very relaxed.
Easy.
But a lot of them were like, my mom's dying and my dad's dying, or I have to go see them. So it doesn't matter the reason, okay? And the permanent bar applies to minors. Yes, you are 5 years old, your mom brings you, you go to school for a year. You're in the United States for a year. You're 5, you're 6 years old, you leave. And then your mom brings you here, the United States, without inspection. Like when you're 10, you have the permanent bar. Now, that is a part of the INA that's absolutely horribly inhumane. The people that drafted that were not thinking it through. And that is such a crushing blow to so many people.
Because some wouldn't even know. If you came here when you were 5, you don't even remember.
You don't know. And you know what? That's why you always want to do your immigration background check, no matter what your mom and dad say. Okay. I know that's very harsh, but in my experience, there's a lot of shame that goes into it. And parents oftentimes don't want to tell their child that because it hurts too much.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
I always do the immigration background check. I always do the FOIA, always, no matter what they say. Because I want to make sure if I send someone out to Juarez or to another consulate and they're going to get their residency and they find out, and I found out that they had the permanent bar and I didn't do my job, that is crushing to them because they stay there for 10 years.
That's
there's no pardon for the permanent bar in normal circumstances. There are a few exceptions for like U-Visa, and also there's exceptions for like domestic violence VAWA claims, but generally speaking, there is no way around the permanent bar.
Oh, that is so sad.
So I have hundreds of clients that hire me just for the immigration background check. And there's a lot of other good lawyers that do that. And I get everything back and then I analyze it all. And then we go ahead and talk to them about what's in their record and provide them with a copy of their entire immigration background.
Yeah. And we are also going to talk about like, how can people contact you? Because I think sometimes people feel like they can only hire an attorney within their like radius, right? Like, oh, like a state, it has to be from my same state or my same city, or because I have to go in person. But everything is so virtual now that you can hire an attorney from across the nation with more experience than the one that lives right next to you, So
yeah, I mean, because it's federal law, so there's only a few areas of law that allow you to be licensed in one state and practice only that law across all 50 states. I'm licensed in California. I'm licensed in California and not in any other state, but I represent clients from all 50 states. I got a client from Washington, D.C. today, from somewhere in Colorado, I can't remember, and Florida.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
And my office is in California and in Utah. I go back between them, but I don't do any in person now because it's so much more efficient this way. And I think the pandemic really helped people realize how easy it is.
That's so crazy. Yeah, in a good way, we did move to a more like tech savvy world with all that Zoom and all that stuff.
And even though it doesn't seem like it from how we started this, I am pretty tech savvy.
Oh no, you and I today was bad. It was a bumpy start.
Like literally, I am very tech savvy. Okay, I just have never had the dual line with the StreamYard and doing all of that together.
Yeah, no, I think it was something on the settings too, because I think this is the first time that it has happened where I invite someone and there's like so much echo that we can't figure it out. It was a bumpy.
Any more questions?
I do have more questions, but I want to switch it to the VAWA question. This one, it says, what is a normal time frame for processing someone who's applying for a VAWA?
I think it's about a year to do the I-360. It changes, but you can file an I-360, which is the VAWA application. And many times people can file the adjustment of status application together with the VAWA. Now that has to do with whether they're able to adjust status in the United States.
Inside.
So I can do both. And the nice thing about doing the adjustment application with the VAWA is that you can get a work permit with the adjustment application, the green card application, and advance parole.
Wow. Awesome.
And like people are like blown away when they've been undocumented for 30 years and we have a green card application pending. And I say, okay, your advance parole is approved. You can go and come back in. There's like, but I don't have any legal status. I'm like, I know you don't. I'm telling you right now, that is in your right to go and come back in on the advance parole. They're like, what?
Wow, that's super cool. Okay, and then what about U-Visa? What is the wait time right now for someone?
U-Visa there's only 10,000 U-Visas issued by Congress a year in October. So the U-Visas are taking 4 to 5 years because they're so backlogged. Now, they used to post that on the USCIS website, and now they're just saying, yeah, it's going to be a lot. They don't even post it. But what the Biden administration did is they're allowing people to be put when the officer gets to the file, if they see that it's meritorious, but like they don't have the visa to issue, they could put the person in deferred action. Then they can be issued a work permit.
Oh, okay.
So that's a good change. It's not fair that someone's a victim of a crime, reports it to the police, is helpful, or witnesses a crime, and then they have to wait 5 years for legal status. That is crazy, but that's up to Congress to a lot more visas annually. And, President Biden was one of the writers of VAWA. And so I think that they know this, obviously. I'm not telling them how to do their job. Marcus knows how to do it. Biden knows how to do it. Hopefully they're going to get Congress to give more visas annually.
Hopefully.
5 years. I mean, that's what it is, 4 to 5 years.
Okay. But meanwhile, they could get a work permit, which is a big
if you get put into deferred action, you can get a work permit. And I have now seen my clients getting work permits for 4 years issued for that.
Oh, wow.
4 years, because they know it's going to take 4 years to get their visa. Yeah.
Because they're so slow. I know.
Yeah, which I had never seen before until this administration.
Okay, so this other, one of the last ones, that is a really juicy question. There's people that have an adjustment of status going on with like an attorney, right? And they've been waiting for years. And for some reason, now they were able to do advance parole to go visit a sick family relative, came back, and now have a legal entry. And so the question for this one is, if that's their situation, are they able to adjust status from inside the U.S.? Is that going to affect their case in any way negatively?
Well, no. Okay, first of all, adjustment of status can only be, it's only when you're in the United States adjusting status inside the United States, okay? If you're, this is a situation where someone like maybe is married to a U.S. citizen, has DACA, right? They start the I-130 process, then they're at the waiver stage, and let's say they've been waiting on the waiver for 2 years, and they know they're going to have to consular process. In that situation, if the person has DACA and they have a reason to do humanitarian advance parole, right, based on the 3 reasons, they could go and come back in and then simply file an entire adjustment application together. Now, people are like, well, wait, the I-130 that I paid for that's already approved, can't we get it back from the National Visa Center and just bring it back? And then, no, you actually have to pay money for a form to have it transferred from the National Visa Center back to the USCIS in order to adjust. And it's almost the same price of filing another I-130 together with the adjustment. So in my practice, I just simply say, cut your losses, we'll file a full adjustment application. And that's good because the Biden administration, we're getting these green cards based on marriage approved within like 10 months. In fact, I got one approved for 3 months.
So fast.
Which is crazy, which is so fast. Like, it's so fast.
Yeah, rather than waiting like 5, 6.
It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt them by doing something else. You can have like 3 or 4 tracks going, right?
Mhm.
It's not like you have to have one and not get off the train. You can actually, get off the train and do something else.
Awesome. So this one is I want to do this one because it's about one of the TikTok videos that someone saw from you, and it says, "I saw your Dia de los Muertos TikTok. Will the day of the day evidence help me get approved for advance parole if my close family member has passed away for more than 2 years?"
Yes, it's a religious a religious holiday in Mexico. It's one of the most important cultural religious events in Mexico, and it's to honor the dead, whether they've been dead for 2 years or 10.
Yay! Awesome.
I actually thought that one up myself.
Yes, that like everybody was like blown away. That's very creative, and I was like, that's a really good. It's gonna help a lot of people that have been wanting to go and
Right.
get that closure, but they didn't think that they were able to. So it really does help a lot.
I love it.
Yes. So I want to tell people how they could reach you. How could they follow you? What is your where are you in social media, and where can they find you?
Immigration_queen, and that's on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And my consultation is $100, and which is like a tank of gas for a truck. And I will meet you on Zoom. I can meet on WhatsApp. I can meet on the phone. And my phone number is 408-418-6621. 408-418-6621. And I work 5 days a week, and oftentimes 6 days, because I do Saturday consultations.
And sometimes, yeah, that was what I was gonna say. Sometimes Saturday, because I know when I spoke with you on the phone, it was a Saturday.
I mean, 90% of the time I do Saturday consultations, unless I'm taking a vacation, or I've just worked too much and I need like 2 days off.
So this one is your account, and this is the link that Esta Gloria was talking about earlier.
Yeah, the link there, and you can make a consultation appointment directly on my link tree also. So if you click on that and you don't want to call my office and go through an intake, you can simply click on that and you go into have a consultation in Spanish and English. Sí, yo hablo español, no es perfecto, pero toda mi gente en mi oficina are Mexican. And we speak.
And todos entienden.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Exactly.
And then at the bottom is where the resources at, right? This one, the Know Your Rights as an Immigrant. Conozca sus derechos como inmigrante.
Yes.
And
it's also, if you go into the link tree, do you want to do that?
Oh, wait, I'm not showing it. Okay.
No, go into the link tree, and then you'll see it. I'm going to show it to everyone. Maybe you can't do it because we're on this. You're the technical girl.
I try. Today it's failing me. It's failing me.
I know, that's okay. But you just go on there, and then there's a Know Your Rights card in Spanish and English, and they actually have a door. There, I have the one that you could put on your door. It's like, don't enter my house.
There we go. Let's see if this works. Yes. Okay. So if you click here, the link tree.
Yep, right there.
You're going to put open anyway. Wait, it doesn't go?
Okay, it's probably just one of your computer. You know what? You got to get better on the technology.
No, this is the first time that it happens. I do lives every freaking week. I'm telling you, you're the mala suerte. You're the mala suerte. And you usually love StreamYard because it's like so easy to use, but I don't know why.
What? It's probably just me. No, I'm just kidding.
Te digo, me está dando mala suerte. But anyways, that's the link tree we were discussing, and I'm able to see it. I don't know why it's not.
I know, but you can go there, and it's awesome. But I really appreciate like you taking the time. I love being an immigration attorney. I intend to practice for another 10 years, and the reason I want to is because I love my job, and I just dig the law about it. I love like digging into the nuances of law and finding out ways to assist people, because the immigration laws they're just massive, right? It's not just there's just not a few, there's thousands of them. And so I love being able to fix a problem. And I always feel proud that if I can't help somebody, I tell them why I can't do it and what the reason for is based on the law, so that they can possibly educate themselves, so that in the event that they hear something like new, they can be like, wait, they're going to waive the permanent bar, or wait, they're going to
Right, they're aware.
Yeah, it's like be alerted. And so if nothing else, I can, it's an opportunity for me to educate my potential clients.
Yeah. And I think that's also why we have to take advantages of the opportunities that we do have when something with immigration happens, because they do change a lot. And, like that, someday we have it and then the next day they want to take it away. So take advantage when you can.
Like I've had so many people I've consulted with me that don't have DACA that were eligible. Like I'm talking like hundreds, because it's like they didn't have the money, or they went to Notario and they gave them wrong information, or they didn't graduate from high school, or all these reasons that didn't exist.
And the fear. I remember here on my community, I live in the valley, like literally almost Mexico, the Rio Grande Valley. And so people were scared that because the rest of the family is undocumented, if they would apply, we would literally go door knocking and telling people about DACA, right? Like that, it was like a little grupito, and we would go inform. Right. People were like, no, I'm not going to let them apply, because what's going to happen to their siblings who are also undocumented? Like, things like that. It was just the fear and the misinformation.
Right, I know. And it took a while for ICE to come out with issued policies saying they would not share that or go after family members. So I understand. I am only here to understand, but I can never truly, really understand what being undocumented is in the United States. So if someone fears something, it's for good reason, oftentimes.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, this is like completely unrelated, y'all, but why did you decide to become an attorney? Like what was the thing that made you, like, this is my last question, I promise. But I'm wondering when did you decide and how? Like, what was that?
I think, well, my dad was a lawyer, and he was like the baby of 6, Mexican, and he was the only one that graduated from high school, the only one that went to college. And my dad became a lawyer, went to UCLA, and he became a lawyer. So I had a mentor right in front of me, which was my dad. And then I did like debate in high school, and then when I went to UCLA.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, you know what? I think I want to be a lawyer too. And it wasn't like my dad ever pressured me. I just thought that was a good career for me based on my skill set. And so I just decided to go to law school. I mean, like the difference between me and someone that isn't a lawyer, I mean, honestly, you don't have to be absolutely wildly smart. I mean, I was like a straight B student in school, and I never got A's. But I did it. That's the difference. I did it. And if you want to go, you can go. There's a way. There's tons of law schools in the United States. And there's a lot of opportunity. And guess what? Once you're a lawyer, you're a lawyer. If you want to do immigration law, you just have to pass the easiest bar in the United States. So don't go to California and take the state bar. If you know you're going to just be an immigration attorney, figure out what is the easiest bar to pass and take that. That's my tip.
Because everything else is by experience, huh?
Yes. And also, I want to let you know that my father was a judge in the state of California, and he was one of the first Mexican-American judges in Los Angeles in the state of California.
That's awesome. So you already had the law in your blood.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. Now, none of my kids have that law in their blood.
No.
Okay. But that's okay, right?
Yeah, you can't pressure them. You weren't pressured.
No, I wasn't. You're right. You're so right about that. And I haven't, because they haven't shown any interest. Probably because they see how hard it is for me on a day-to-day basis, just with the amount of work. So
yeah, that's the other thing I was gonna say. Like the difference also between you and another like immigration attorney, I think, is that a lot of them are not really out there trying to like bring awareness to the community. And I think it's really beautiful to see attorneys that do that. So that's why I wanted to ask you, like, how did it even what was the reason that you became an immigration attorney? Because I see that you post videos, that you try to bring awareness, that you try to understand where people are coming from. Like they're not just the clients, but they're people, they're humans, and there's I think that there's beauty in that when it comes to immigration attorneys.
Aww, thank you. I feel like it's a good opportunity. Like TikTok, I had a radio show for 7 years in Utah. It was a immigration show on Saturdays. And during the pandemic, it was very hard for me to record. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get on TikTok. And everyone thought I was absolutely, completely nuts, including our 4 kids. They're like, really? You're going to get on TikTok? What are you going to do?
My mom, the TikToker.
I was like, TikTok Creed. They're like, that is a horrible name. And I was like, well, it just is. So I just think that TikTok is a great platform for knowledge. I have personally learned so much about so many things I didn't know about from TikTok.
Yeah, it's TikTok University.
It's so true.
Yes. But it was so nice to meet you, Gloria. Thank you so much for joining us. Sorry for all those technical difficulties, but I'm so glad that we got through those hoops, man. Thank you so much.
You know what? It's like an immigration case. There's always bumps in the road, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for everything you do for the community. I love it. I love your page. I'm a big fan and I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Bye. Cuídense mucho. Nos vemos. Bye, everybody. Thank you.